The beginning of episode 9 of Queen of Tears was so funny. Oh my gosh. Like seeing her family, Hayen's family in Heinwoo's community was top tier. I was like, this is so funny right now because they're just not used to it. And I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see what goes on in this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review on the Review Garden. So, in this episode, we got to see the family pretty much get a dose of, well, I mean, they were backstabbed by people they trusted. I mean, the person I feel the most for her is the brother because he lost his wife and his son. And I was like, if you weren't after his money like that, what was the point of even like marrying him and bringing in the fake child? I just don't get it because she wrote him a letter saying that, oh, guess what? You don't like older women? I'm older than you, and the child's not yours. So you just wanted to hurt him. Like it wasn't like for you, it wasn't about his money. It was just you hurting him because a long time ago, when you guys met and stuff, like he didn't remember you, so you wanted to hurt him. I don't get it because what was the point of even getting married to him? Like they did have that scene at Hayen's wedding, which I'm guessing that's what the quote matchmaker was trying to do. She was trying to set Hayen up with her ex boyfriend, and then which she failed. So then she had, you know, the girl marry the brother. But I'm like, but anyway, just like that matchmaker, right? She was like, oh, I should close the massage place and get a and when I start my job at the director, and like the guy's looking at her like, what are you talking about? Like, no, go to the States and figure something out. Like, go start your little cosmetic line over there. And I'm like, she thought she could have it all just like them. Like, no. Just like his mom was like, did you she needs to know her place. So now what? They're gonna start turning on each other, right? Because that's not what she thought was gonna happen, right? Because and even what's his name? Yoon something. He moved the chairman's location because him and his mom don't have the same goal, right? So they're gonna turn on each other soon, pretty soon. And um they don't have the same goal because she wants to punish everyone. That's why she kicked them out of the house. And when the son came in the house, he was like, where is everybody? Why aren't they here? And she was like, oh, were you really expecting to live in the same house as the people who you took? Like, no. So he's like, well, my goal is to get Hayen to come back to her job. Like, that's what my goal is. That's is to do this together with her. And then in my head I'm like, why the hell would she want to? Right? You just kicked her whole family out. You took all her you froze all their assets and I'm going to come work for you? Like, are you crazy? Like, no. And you know, by him being nosy, going into the girl's room and going through her wallet. He gets her medical card, goes to the hospital, and pulls out her medical record. Like, who do you think you are, dude? Like, he should be arrested for that alone, right? So he finds out that she has 3 months to live. But realistically, shouldn't it be 2 months by now? There's no way it's still 3 months, right? Because she find out, then they went to Germany. Like all that couldn't have been in a span of a week. It has to be like, I don't know. I'm gonna say, yeah, she has to have 2 months left or something like that. It can't still be 3 months, you know. And with her whole with her sickness, she fainted at um when she was in Haiwu's house, right? And everybody was worried about her except for her mother. Like the other lady is like, the aunt is like, you're gonna regret this later on. And I'm like, I hope that's not like foreshadowing that she's actually going to pass away. I do hope like they figure out a way to cure her. But if she's over here saying like, oh, she's gonna regret this in the end, it's like, is that supposed to be like some code for she's not gonna make it? Um, and then you saw like Heian saw the music player in Heinwoo's room, and she realized that it was hers from a long time ago, and she was like, were we destined to be together? Was he destined to love me? Da, 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 da. Or was he born to love me or something like that? And I was like, I mean, that would have been cute, but he ran into the room. Instead of her saying like, it would have been better if she was like, you know, ha, this was mine. But he's running into the room like he's hiding something from her, because the owner of the thing was his first love, right? So he's like, he took it from her and like hid it back into the drawer, and is like, oh yeah, I don't even remember who it was for. Like now you making her feel some type of way. Like it's just so awkward when they could have just been clear. She could have just been like, oh, it's mine. But instead now she's like, why is he hiding it? And he's like, oh my gosh, she almost found it. And then when they showed you the epilogue, he's like, oh, he would recognize the girl in an instant. No, you wouldn't, because it's your wife. It's your ex-wife. So obviously you wouldn't know, you wouldn't realize the girl, the owner of the thing right away. so, so obviously we're gonna be waiting for a bigger reveal now in when he finds out that she's actually the owner of this. Maybe he's going to see it as, because her initials are on that. So maybe, but still, you mean to tell me that you've been together with this girl for 4 years and you've never seen her initials like that before? I feel like if she's going to take the time to put her initials like that on her on her iPod, it's not anything else that she's not going to put that initial on, right? So I feel like by he should have put one and two together. He's very smart, right? There had to have been something else of hers with her initials on it like that, right? So I don't even want to hear it. But I'm interested to see where episode 10 is going to go, because it looks like while Heinwu was trying to figure out, a way to catch the ex-boyfriend in some kind of scam, because what he did was illegal. So by the end of episode 9, he was fighting some people, and then the ex-boyfriend figured out where Heian was. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen Next, episode 10 pretty much picks up where 9 ended. And, Hein Wu was fighting those dudes, and that guy that he was trying to send the letter to, the guy who's related to Yoon Sung, well, not related, but who was dealing with Yoon Sung. Um, and then, they kind of started it in a way to tell us how much of a boxer, how good of a boxer that Heinwu was. So you had, Hayen's brother go to the boxing club that Heinwu's brother owns, and he was looking at all the awards that Heinwu won for boxing. And then they were just saying like how when he fights, he looks at for the weakness of the other person, and so on and so forth. So like when he gets home to that scene was hilarious. When he gets home and then Hayen sees him all like bloody and, well, like his lip was busted, and then he had like a scratch on his face, and then she just started like taking off his clothes just to check if he had other bruises on his body. Like it was so funny. It was and then in the other scene, the other way it let it and episode 9 ended was with Haein seeing Yoon Song, and him pretty much threatening her and telling her like she needs to come back to the company, blah blah blah, her spot is still open. And the brother, both brothers were there, and um and he tried to punch Yoon Song, but he fell on the floor, so his face was scratched up too. So the next morning, when everybody's having dinner, I mean, when everybody's having breakfast, they come on the table, and the brother came first, and he was like, "What happened to your face?" He's like, "I tripped and fell." And then when Hainu Wu came, the same thing. "What happened to your face?" "I tripped and fell." And they were like, "Oh, you both tripped and fell? Like, did you get in a fight with each other?" And he was like, "No, I would never." Um, because he's a boxing champ. And you see like Hayen's face, like she's like part impressed, part like, "What? My husband is a boxing champion? Oh my god." So like it was hilarious. And also in this episode, they're starting to get closer to each other. Because he was gonna leave for work, and then she came out and she was like, "Did you remember to apply, more ointment on your face?" And she was applying it for him. And then he was gonna leave for work, and he was like, "Oh, uh, there's gonna be a lot of traffic right now, so I think it'd be best if spent like 5 minutes, um, waiting for the traffic." And pretty much they spent that time just saying like, if they had spent more time, if he had spent more time asking her how is she doing, kind of like applying ointment to all their wounds versus just like ignoring it and going past it like they did, then they would have been better, like a better couple right now. Because like they even showed you scenes like when he would come home from work, he would see her, on the couch. They wouldn't even talk to each other, and they wouldn't even talk to each other at work. But it's not like they didn't want to. I don't know what exactly stopped them from doing that. They wanted to talk to each other. I guess they just didn't know how to talk to each other. And just like with Hayen's personality, she she likes to, she likes to come off as being strong, like that she's going her way. But in reality, if you like take a step back, she really does care for people. The same thing applies like when she was caring for her employees, right? She didn't come right out and say that she was caring for them. She just did it in her own way. And I think some people may see her as like being like strong and like unapproachable, but it's just the way she protects herself. And especially like when you see her family dynamic, she has to be strong because her mom is like boom, 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 boom. Like even when she fainted, like her mom is like, "Oh, you'll be all right. I have anemia too. This situation is hard on everyone, not just you." So it's like it's really should be him taking the time to like um you know get, at least with him, she, even if it's not with her family, but with him, she should let those walls down, right? And she's a nice person. She just does her own thing in her own way, right? What else happened in this episode? So remember I was like they were gonna turn on each other. Like it just took what them Hein Wu and the aunt to like threaten her, and already she already turned on Yoon Sung and his mom. And I'm like, that's what y'all get. You're like, oh, you need to put her in her place because she can't be a director. Da 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 da. So they're like, well, when Hein Wu and his friend came to see her, they were like, well, we know how your business runs, and it's crazy that you would even run your business like that since you're like, you have, you know, high profile people that you do matchmaking for, right? And her thing is when they don't pay her what they should, I mean, shouldn't you have a list of prices? Or like when they don't pay her at all, she goes and she messes up the wedding. Not the wedding, but the marriage. She goes and she messes up um the marriage to get them a divorce. That's why Hainu's friend, who's a divorce lawyer, is like, you're very popular amongst my clients because you're pretty much the one sending them to me. Because when they don't pay you what you want, you set up someone to, act as a mistress, and you pretty much ruin the the relationship. So what should I do, right? Should I let them all know what you're doing? Because one of them used to be, a mob boss. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. So like that pretty much scared her straight. So now she's working with the other ones. And then she had the audacity to be like, see, you guys are like family. The other ones were like rude and da da da. And I'm like, that's what you get. The only thing I know that the girl who married the brother, she knew them from a long time ago. Like they were in the same orphanage, and the Yoon Sung's mom used to visit that same orphanage too. But what they haven't shown us is how or where they've met the matchmaker. I mean, she seems kind of like she's in, I wouldn't say that she's the same age as the mom. Uh, I wouldn't say she's the same age as Yoon Song either. So I would say like somewhere in the middle. Um, but I would really like to know, where they knew her from and like how did they even get her in on this um revenge thing, because that's pretty much what it is. They're doing a revenge thing because they don't, their motive is that those other people enjoyed their fortune for too long, and now they plan this to take over. So I'm interested to know like where they met her. I mean, I guess it would have to be at the orphanage too, but there was never like a scene to show where she came from. And in this episode too, we kind of see that the grandfather kind of opened up his eyes. So who knows what's going to happen next time? Because isn't the whole point she's trying to keep him alive but still in a coma, because as long as he's in a coma um she can pretty much, that's how that paper he signed work. So she's trying to keep him in a coma, but now that Yoon Sung moved her to somewhere else, he his eyes opened in episode 10. So I'm interested to see like where, like what is the grandfather going to do, because he knows the truth. Hein Wu did tell him that she was bad, and that they were mother and son right before he collapsed. So we'll see what happens then. And then the funniest part about this episode too was when the mom, um, Hayen's mom, was put to work by Hainu's mom, and she was like picking the pears. Like she did a hard day's work, right? Even though like she was having trouble in the beginning, but in the end, she ended up doing a full day's work. And at the dinner table, she was like hungry. She was eating so much. She was eating so much food. And then for the first time in her life, she was able to sleep without any sleeping pills. She was out. I was laughing so hard. I was like, oh my gosh. And to think about it, like, I feel like with how she was probably raised or brought up, this is probably the first time in her life that she's worked, you know? So this was her like first paycheck, her income minus the cost of the coffee that Hainu's mom paid for her, right? And then in this episode too, we saw that Hainu's mom found out about um Hayen's illness. So she found out that she has a brain tumor. Well, the way she found out was there was all the leaves on the floor, so she was like following it back to where Hayen was sleeping, and the door was a little open, and she was able to hear her um on the phone with her doctor. And then when she went into Hein Wu's room to like wake him up and ask him about it, and she that's when she like truly found out. And she was like, when did you find out? He was like, well, the day I was gonna give her the divorce and I decided not to give it. Yo, she started beating him. Well, not beating him, but like hitting him. She was like, how could you, like, what what are you doing? She's like, and he's like, I know I was wrong, da, da, da. So like it just goes to show you like she expected more from him, and she educated him to be better than this. So like she felt the pain for him and for her, right? So he was like, when I'm gone at work, like I need you to watch over her for me, like keep an eye on her. And then after you know the mom shed some more tears, she was like, she cooked like this big feast for Hayin, right, to eat. And I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so nice to her. Like the way she interacts with the way Hayin interacts with Hein Wu's mom is so much different than the way she interacts with her own mom. Because like um was it the same day, or maybe it was the same day, but she was like she needed to go back to Seoul, and her mom was like, "Oh, was that your plan? Did you plan with him to take over the company? Is that how?" She's like, "Think whatever you want." And then um, Hainu's mom stepped in and drove her in the tractor, like drove her to where she needed to go to get to Seoul. And the reason she needed to get to Seoul was, I guess, to accept the terms of um, Heinz Yoon Song, because he like threatened her and was like he was threatening her through her husband, because he's still working at the company, and like he moved him to a different location and is, you know, saying that he's going to be fired for malpractice, like pretty much ruining this man's career. And he told her, like, well, I can put whatever I want on the paper. I could be like, oh, he accepted a bribe, he did this, he did that. So she went to Seoul to kind of say, okay, whatever, I'll agree to your terms and come back. Just leave him alone, right? So when Hein Wu found out about it, obviously he was not happy with it. So when the day came that, they were going to do the press conference and he was going to come, well, when Haein and Yoon Song were going to do the press conference, she was like, I'm going to find my own way to do this. Hein Wu was, a little mad, but in the press conference, instead of reading what they wanted her to, instead of saying what they wanted her to say, she was like, she was threatened by Yoon Song for, and saying that he was going to send her husband. I was like, her husband, not her ex-husband, her husband, to prison and ruin his career, and so and so. So that's why she's coming over here. And plus she can't take over the company because she has only a few months left to live. So she publicly told everyone that she doesn't have much time to live. So I wonder, like, when her parents see this interview, like what are they going to do? I mean, and I think also the reason she did that and said that, he threatened her husband is because she found out that, Hein Wu really loves her. When they did the epilogue, they kind of showed you like him getting drunk, um, which by the way she finds really adorable. So he was like getting drunk with his brother, and he was like, do you think she's still gonna find it adorable when I'm drunk? So like he was like walking home, and he was like with the leaves, and he was like picking them one by one. So those were the leaves that the mom saw when she went to go hear Hayen talk to her doctor, leading to her door. um he was like, she loves me, well, no, she likes me, she likes me not, she likes me, she likes me not. And he kept going until like he reached her door, and when he reached her door, the last one, the last leaf was like, she likes me. So he was like so happy, and then he was like, but I don't feel that way, I love her. And then he was like, I love you, Hagen. And she was pretty much listening to everything, you know, she was pretty much listening to everything behind the door. So I think that's what drove her to agree to Yoon Song's proposal, and then to just reveal to everyone what the thing was. So next week's episode looks like it's about to get crazy. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But one thing's for sure is that this show, it's called Queen of Tears, and they really gave like a good name. And I think I've said this before, but they really gave it a good name. Every episode like brings you tears. Like you're just like, oh my gosh. And it's so emotional. This show is just so good. And I think someone said it on social media, and I always like point out how like the first half of the show is versus like the second half of the show. And in this one, they kind of give you like the first half was like its own story, and like the second half can kind of be its own story too. And I think did they um they did a pretty good job at showing you their lives as rich people, and now showing you their lives living like after being rich for so long, and now trying to start from the beginning again. So I'm really excited with this series, and I can't wait to watch the next episode. And this wraps up our journey on The Review Garden. Thank you for joining me today as we explored this drama. If you enjoyed this reaction and review, please remember to subscribe for more insightful videos. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps our channel grow. As always, I'm truly grateful for your support and for joining me on this journey on The Review Garden. Until next time, and happy listening. Bye.